What if one small act of kindness could change your entire life? This is the story of a humble waitress, a free cup of coffee, and a twist that left an entire cafe and the internet stunned. It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon at Maggie's Cafe, the kind of place where the scent of warm muffins and fresh coffee floated in the air, and the gentle clinking of silverware filled the silence between conversations. For 5 years, Lena Parker had worked here, long enough to memorize the regulars' names and remember exactly how Mr. Dalton liked his hash browns, extra crispy, no onions. She wasn't just a waitress, she was part of the soul of the cafe. A warm smile, a patient ear, the kind of person who made people feel at home with just a hello. But life hadn't been easy lately. Her mother's hospital bills were piling up. Her younger brother, Ben, was drowning in college applications. And no matter how many double shifts Lena picked up, it never felt like enough. Still, every morning, she tied her apron, showed up, and smiled. Because as she often told herself, kindness didn't cost a thing. That afternoon, the doorbell above the entrance jingled softly. A man stepped in, older, quiet, his coat frayed at the edges, shoes worn down to the soles. He walked slowly to the counter, eyes lowered like he didn't want to be seen. "Coffee?" Lena asked gently, her voice kind. The man nodded, fumbling with a battered wallet. He laid out a few coins, barely enough for a candy bar, let alone a coffee. Across the room, the cafe manager, Mr. Hanley, narrowed his eyes. "If he can't pay, he can't stay," he muttered under his breath. Lena hesitated only a moment. Then, quietly, she poured a fresh cup and slid it toward the man. "It's on me," she whispered with a smile. The man looked up, stunned. His eyes said more than his words ever could: surprise, warmth, and deep gratitude. He wrapped his hands around the cup like it was the first warmth he'd felt all day. "Thank you," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. But Mr. Hanley had seen, and his expression darkened. When the man finished and stood to leave, he paused just long enough to thank Lena again before stepping out into the cold. Mr. Hanley stormed over. "You can't just give away food," he snapped. "That's stealing." "It was just a cup of coffee," Lena replied calmly. "He needed it." "That's not your decision to make," he barked. "You're fired." The cafe went silent. A few customers froze, forks halfway to their mouths. A cook peeked from the kitchen. Lena's heart pounded, but her voice remained steady. She untied her apron, placed it gently on the counter, and looked him in the eye. "I hope one day you'll understand," she said softly. "Kindness is worth more than a few extra dollars." And just like that, she walked out, head high, heart heavy. The next morning, the town of Millstone woke up to a strange sight outside Maggie's Cafe. A sleek, black luxury sedan with tinted windows pulled up to the curb. People slowed their walks, heads turned. The diner had never seen anything like it. The door opened, and out stepped the same man from the day before. Only, it wasn't the same man at all. Gone was the tattered coat and hunched shoulders. In its place stood a confident, clean-cut gentleman in a perfectly tailored navy blue suit. His shoes gleamed. His watch sparkled in the sunlight. His posture radiated purpose. Mr. Hanley, who was wiping down the counter inside, caught sight of him through the window and nearly dropped the glass he was holding. The man walked through the cafe doors, head high, eyes scanning. He spotted Mr. Hanley and walked directly toward him. "You don't recognize me?" the man asked, his voice smooth and steady. Mr. Hanley blinked. I'm not sure. I was here yesterday," the man said simply. "I came in wearing a torn coat. I didn't have enough to pay for a coffee." The color drained from Mr. Hanley's face. The man extended a hand. "My name is Christopher Langston. I'm the founder and CEO of Langston Eats Group, a national restaurant chain with over 200 locations across the country." Mr. Hanley's jaw fell open. "Maggie's Cafe," the man continued, "is one of the businesses under my company." The silence that followed was heavy enough to crush stone. "I came undercover," Langston said, "to see how staff treat not just customers, but people, human beings, regardless of what they look like or what they carry in their wallets." He paused, scanning the cafe. "And yesterday, someone showed me what true hospitality looks like." Her name was Lena Parker. Customers started whispering. She gave me warmth when she didn't have to. She gave me dignity when no one else would. She did what you didn't, Mr. Hanley. The manager stammered. I, I didn't know. Christopher raised a hand. That's exactly the point. You didn't care to know. Then he reached into his jacket and handed Mr. Hanley a crisp envelope. You're officially relieved of your duties. Effective immediately. Mr. Hanley's mouth opened to protest, but no sound came out. He took the envelope, hands shaking. I'll be speaking with the rest of the team shortly, Christopher said, turning away. As he stepped back outside, he pulled out his phone and made a call. Find Lena Parker, he said. Today. Meanwhile, Lena sat on the couch in her small apartment, still stunned from the day before. Her mom had tried comforting her, and her brother Ben had offered to quit his college plans if things got worse. But Lena wouldn't hear of it. She just sat quietly, staring at her apron folded neatly on the coffee table. Then came the knock. She opened the door slowly, and there he was, Christopher Langston, in full form. Before she could say a word, he offered a soft smile. You probably don't recognize me, he said. She blinked. You're the man from the cafe. He nodded. And I've been looking for you. Lena stepped aside, confused and cautious. He sat down and told her everything, who he was, why he came, and how her simple gesture had left a lasting impression. You didn't just pour coffee, he said. You poured compassion. That's rare. And I don't take rare things lightly. Then came the words that made her gasp. I want to offer you your job back, but not as a server. Lena stared. I want you to manage the cafe. And beyond that, I want to help. He slid a second envelope across her coffee table. Inside is a check. It'll cover your mother's medical bills. Tears welled in Lena's eyes. And a scholarship, he added, for your brother. Full tuition, anywhere he wants to go. Lena covered her mouth in shock. I don't know what to say, Christopher smiled gently. You already said it, when you gave without asking anything in return. Within a week, Maggie's cafe looked completely different. The energy, the warmth, it was like the place had been reborn. And at the heart of it stood Lena Parker, no longer just the kind waitress who served coffee with a smile, but the new cafe manager, leading with the same heart that made her unforgettable. Regulars returned not just for the meals, but for the atmosphere Lena created, a space where kindness was served first, no matter who walked through the door. But the story didn't end there. Christopher Langston wasn't done. He invited Lena to a conference a few towns over, a summit for hospitality leaders, where CEOs, investors, and big names in the food industry gathered once a year. She felt out of place at first, in her thrift store dress, standing in a sea of tailored suits and designer shoes. But then Christopher stood on stage, facing the crowd of hundreds. I want to tell you a story, he began, about a cup of coffee. He told them everything. The test, the encounter, the gesture that changed his outlook, and the woman who reminded him what leadership was really about. Then he called Lena up to the stage. People stood and clapped before she even spoke. She didn't prepare a speech, just spoke from the heart. I didn't do anything special, she said. I just saw a man who needed warmth. We've all been there, haven't we? Hoping someone might see us and not walk past. Silence hung in the air, heavy, emotional, real. From that day forward, Lena's story went viral. News stations ran the headline. Waitress fired for giving free coffee. Now CEO of Kindness Movement. She became a guest speaker at colleges, podcasts, and leadership events. A simple cup of coffee had turned into a ripple effect of compassion across the country. Meanwhile, her mother's treatments improved dramatically, and Ben got accepted into the college of his dreams, fully funded, and more inspired than ever by his sister's courage. As for Maggie's cafe, it became a symbol, a destination. People traveled just to see the place where kindness changed everything. Christopher Langston and Lena Parker stayed in touch, not just as colleagues, but as friends. He often credited her for bringing heart back into his empire. And every time someone asked Lena how it all happened, she'd smile softly and say, it wasn't luck. It was kindness. the kind that costs nothing but changes everything. Sometimes, the tiniest moments reveal the biggest hearts. Lena didn't know her simple gesture would change her future forever, but compassion always finds a way back to you. If this story moved you, show your support by liking, sharing, and subscribing to Comeback Tales. Together, let's keep spreading stories that remind us of the good still left in the world.